Porcine reproductive and respiratory syndrome is the most economically significant disease to affect U.S. swine production since the eradication of classic swine fever. As indicated by its name, PRRS leads to reproductive failure, including abortions and stillbirths. In young pigs, it can cause respiratory issues like pneumonia and can increase susceptibility to secondary bacterial infections. Welcome to Feedstuffs in Focus, our podcast taking a look at the big issues affecting the livestock, poultry, grain, and animal feed industries. I'm your host, Sarah Muirhead. This episode is brought to you by Pharmgate Animal Health, a growing business that puts livestock first. Pharmgate provides a proven portfolio of technically supported, high-quality products that are the foundation of custom herd health protocols. By offering multiple options for active ingredients, concentrations, and administration routes, Pharmgate provides you with choices to fit your needs and gets you the results you want. Joining us today to talk about PRRS and options for protecting your herd is Dr. Nic Lauterbach, Technical Services Veterinarian with Pharmgate Animal Health. So, Nic, tell us about your role at Pharmgate and your experience in battling PRRS.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me. I'm Dr. Nic Lauterbach. I'm a technical service veterinarian with Pharmgate Animal Health. I've been with the company about 2.5 years. Prior to that, I was a veterinarian within a production company in the Midwest for 4.5 years. And so I've been in the swine industry for 7 years, just about 7 years. And so with that, obviously comes a lot of experience at battling PRRS, especially raising pigs in the Midwest. Had a lot of experience on both the sow side as well as the finishing pig side. And I think that and can be said about a lot of other folks on our team within Pharmgate as well. I think that's one thing that really sets our group apart is when you're talking about these prevalent pathogens, specifically with PRRS, right? We have a lot of in-barn real world experiences that I think positions us uniquely to really bring these science-based solutions and talk about some of the ways to manage this really impactful disease that we're going to talk about today.
So what have you been hearing out there from customers about PRRS challenges and prevalence?
Yeah, I would say, interestingly, the one thing that I would say we hear a lot that has probably changed even in my fairly brief career is that we talk about PRRS year-round now. It really does not seem that there is an off season for PRRS. People are focused on keeping PRRS out, managing PRRS, working through PRRS breaks pretty much from, it used to be we dealt with it a lot in the winter times as the weather got cold and as the season shifted. It just seems like anymore it's a 12-month a year conversation that we're having is around PRRS and how do I manage this better.
And it's all sizes of operations, right?
Yeah, it's all sizes of operations, and really, it's from it's in every state that we raise pigs. I think there's very few states anymore that are untouched by the PRRS virus, and especially with I'm located in Central Iowa. A big portion of our team is from South Dakota to Iowa to Oklahoma. So we spend a lot of time talking about PRRS.
So what kind of clinical signs should producers be looking for as they monitor for PRRS in their herd? How best to have that diagnosed?
Yep. So PRRS stands for Porcine Reproductive and Respiratory Syndrome virus. And so that in the name kind of tells you what disease processes we need to look out for. So when I think about the sow side of things is really where you can see both of those diseases or both of the pieces of the name kind of manifests itself, where you have the reproductive disease, which reduced conception rate, loss of litters, and just overall a reduction in the number of pigs weaned from the sow farm. But also you can see the respiratory side of things where it tends to be really hard on sows and weaned pigs alike, where you'll typically see lethargic off-feed sows. You could see an increase in piglet mortality in the farrowing house, and just really a really significant impact on the number of pigs that we're weaning from a sow farm. When you get out into the finishing side of things, obviously you're going to see more on the respiratory side, where you'll see a really reduced activity, lethargic pigs, reduction in water intake, reduction in feed intake, and in the worst cases, has the potential to see some really significant mortality that is associated with the PRRS, but then is also partially associated with some of these secondary bacterial infections that comes with this virus's ability to really hamper the immune system of this pig to respond to bacterial pathogens that it otherwise would have no problems fighting off.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. Those secondary infections. What's the overall risk from those?
Yeah, the risk is huge, and really that's the piece when we talk about a PRRS and an active PRRS infection. That's the piece we feel like we can manage the best, or try to attempt to manage the best. Right? We have that's where our antibiotic treatment regimens would come into play when you have these secondary bacterial infections that, like I said, the pig would routinely come into contact with, but when you add a PRRS co-infection on top of this, that immune system is just not functioning to the highest level. And that's when those bacterial, that bacterial pressure can then really pose an issue to these pigs.
How important is PRRS prevention versus treatment? And is it possible to fully eliminate PRRS from a system when you have it there?
Yeah, I'd say PRRS prevention is the number one thought that we talk to a lot of people across the country. And I don't know of anybody that's not actively working to keep PRRS out, whether they've had PRRS before or they haven't had PRRS in the history of the farm. Everybody has some plan in place or some steps in place to keep PRRS out of their farm, because prevention is the best way to manage this, right? If you keep PRRS out, you don't have to worry about managing it. You don't have to worry about eliminating it. With that said, I do think that from an industry standpoint, we all recognize and realize the value that being PRRS negative has. And I do think that we are working towards being PRRS negative. There's just a lot of different factors that go into that, right?
What are some of the strategies that you recommend when it comes to the control of PRRS?
Yeah, so probably steps 1, 2, 3, however many they are, is biosecurity. Keeping this disease, we mentioned it, prevention. If I can keep this disease out of my farm and I remain PRRS negative, I don't have to worry about eliminating it. I don't have to worry about managing it. So trying to put as many layers between the pig and potential PRRS introduction is critical. So having those biosecurity plans that are evaluated routinely, making sure we don't have any gaps and making sure that our risks to our system haven't changed, is really critical. The second piece of that would be a vaccination strategy. And this would be widely used by the industry as well, where, if we know we're going to do everything we can to keep PRRS out of our system, but based off your geography, your pig density, where your farms are at, you will likely have some inherent risk of PRRS being introduced into your farm. And so I think what a lot of people then move towards on the management side is PRRS vaccination, trying to make sure that if those pigs come in contact with a wild type PRRS, we have set them up for as much success as we can possibly have.
So what kind of strategies then, or what kind of solutions does Pharmgate offer to protect hers against PRRS? So
in terms of I think that's the one exciting thing that I really enjoy about working for Pharmgate Animal Health is when it comes to managing PRRS, managing through PRRS breaks, we do have a extensive portfolio that can be beneficial in a lot of scenarios. And so we have antibiotics, like we talked about, the secondary bacterial infections and the roles that those play in making this disease and these co-infections worse. And so we have, water-soluble antibiotics like Penchlor 64 and Avlicin that are labeled for a broad range of those bacterial pathogens. But then we also do on the vaccination side, we are excited about having PRRS Guard, which is our modified live PRRS vaccine, available to the industry, and that we have been able to show is efficacious in the face of a lot of these relevant wild type PRRS strains that we're seeing out in the industry today.
How exactly does PRRS Guard work?
So PRRS Guard is a lineage 1 chimeric modified live PRRS vaccine. And so the goal with it, along with a range of our other commercial vaccines in the swine industry, is just to allow that pig to build an immune response before it comes into contact with a wild type PRRS strain. And so the idea is, if we use PRRSguard to prime that pig's immune system to PRRS, we have then shown that PRRSguard has the ability to cross protect against some of these significant wild type PRRS strains, such as a 174 PRRS. And most recently, we completed a research study that shows efficacy in the face of a 144 L1C PRRS strain.
So what about product safety, performance, effectiveness? Talk to us more about that study.
Yeah, sure. So Pharmgate Animal Health takes a lot of pride in the safety and the efficacy of our vaccines that we bring to market. We have a really robust protocol that we follow to make sure that the vaccines that we are bringing out are safe and that they work well in the situations that we need them to work well for the industry, right? We want to be seen as being a resource and being a value added partner to producers and veterinarians alike. And so that's where the trial I just referenced is some of the most recent work we've done with PRRSguard, where we challenge pigs with a relevant PRRS strain, 144 lineage 1C that we see a lot of in the Midwest. And we showed success with PRRSguard vaccinated pigs in reducing the impact that PRRS has against not only the non-vaccinated PRRS control pigs, but also had we were as efficacious as another relevant commercial PRRS modified live that's on the market. And so we're really excited about that, because I think ultimately we want to be seen as an option for people that are looking for, hey, how do I maximize the tools that are available to us and the tools that are in my toolbox?
Very good. Anything else you'd like to add and leave our listeners with here today?
Yeah, I would just leave everybody that if you ever have any questions about who we are as a company or our experiences, Pharmgate Animal Health, I think we are uniquely positioned that not only me and my experiences, but really our entire team, we have a lot of in-barn experience as it relates to the swine industry. So our whole team has been around agriculture for most of our careers, and a majority of us have spent our careers specifically in the swine industry at all different levels, at all different phases of production. So we feel that we can be a real resource and a value added to add value to producers and veterinarians alike. We have a robust portfolio, and specifically when it comes to managing and getting through these PRRS breaks, I think that's where partnering with somebody like us, where we have the PRRS vaccine on the front side, and then if things were to happen and we need to react and we need to try to limit these impacts, we have antibiotics that could also be implemented to try to reduce that impact. So if you have any more questions, or if you would like to just learn more about how Pharmgate can be a resource for you, you can look us up on our website, pharmgate.com. That's Pharmgate with a PH, or come find us at World Pork. We're just a couple weeks from that, and we'll be at World Pork at a booth inside the Varied Industries building. So,
very good. We'll see you at World Pork, and thank you so much for sharing your time and your insight with us here today, Nic.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm Sarah Muirhead, and you've been listening to Feedstuffs in Focus. If you would like to hear more conversations about some of the big issues affecting the livestock, poultry, grain, and animal feed industries, subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast channel. Until next time, have a great day, and thank you for listening.